and it's just starting to look like the pictures of a war film as formations of biplanes fly around in the sky. Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one, I'm extremely excited to share with you a 10 versus 10 on Novka. And if the title or thumbnail didn't give it away, well, there are some clues as to what's going to happen in this one. As you can probably see in the bottom left, or on the right hand side, where you can see the divisions chosen by our team, or by, what is that, in the sky? The hundreds of biplanes arriving on the map at the start of this game. And more epic than that, today's video is sponsored. Say hello to World War Armies, a free-to-play, cross-platform World War II RTS made by Hype Masters. This pure PvP RTS is a lot of fun to play. I had a chance to play previously on mobile, but now it's also coming to PC, soon allowing you to quickly jump into some fun PvP action. The demo is currently available on Steam, so head over and give it a go against the AI. Soon the game will launch into early access, where you'll be able to join and play against other players, so make sure to wishlist and keep an eye on their page. Their goal with this game is to streamline aspects of the RTS genre whilst maintaining a competitive atmosphere, and the great thing is they're very open to feedback on their Discord, which you can join using the link below. So how does the game work? You jump into battle with a set of units, which you can then spawn and use to fight your enemy. By controlling points on the map, you can increase your income, allowing you to purchase and unlock higher tiers of units. Over time, you will also gain points to spend on your commander abilities, which are an important thing to utilize at the right time. Ultimately, your goal is to destroy your enemy's base or hold the majority of victory objectives long enough to win. It's a really fun structure that is quick to pick up for strategy veterans and also fantastic for newcomers to the genre. Try out World War Armies for free, the demo now available on Steam and early access soon. Link in the description below. Welcome back to the absolute awesome scenes that is over 100 biplanes coming onto the map at the start of the game. This was a 10 versus 10 that was set up specifically to do just this. I made decks for Tyurin and also for Polish Home Army. Those who didn't have DLC, they could use Tyurin. I chose to use Tyurin because it used to be one of my favourite decks. And then anybody who did have the Polish DLC could use Polish Home Army. And the reason you'd want to use both of these decks is because they are the ones with the most biplanes available. And I wanted to set it up so that we had all of the biplanes available in Phase A. Now, by bringing in just one infantry unit, you can actually also follow it up with, I think, about 10 or 11 biplanes. So we had a ridiculous number coming in at the beginning here, and you can see these poor Panzer IVs. They're trying to pull back. They're going to get absolutely deleted by the sheer number of biplanes coming in, particularly the cluster biplanes. The Nimrod trying to do its best to shoot down as many as possible, but cluster munitions coming in from my biplane is gonna get the job done, and it's just starting to look like the pictures of a war film as formations of biplanes fly around in the sky, getting shot down occasionally, but finding fantastic targets. All of my bombers now going to be diving for the Mobowagen here, as that's going to get hit by the Taman. Now the Focke-Wulf 190 coming into the fray to shoot down as many as possible. But with that, it is time to leave. The damage is done on the left hand side here, all the smoke piles below, as the Panzer IVs don't know quite what hit them, and trust me, the enemy team did definitely not know what hit them. It was awesome. But in doing this, we have somewhat relinquished ground elsewhere. What I kind of told people on my team to do was bring in only one infantry unit and place it at the start just so the front line didn't look like it was collapsing. And then invest all of the rest of their points into biplanes. We had a couple people invest into the IL-2 KRs here, like Endymion, so that we had some recon to target enemy forces. But yeah, otherwise it was just more or less entirely just a one infantry each and all biplanes. So actually incredible start there, and probably the most biplanes I've ever seen in one game since I managed to crash the game on stream all the way back when the Polish Home Army actually came out. That has since been fixed thanks to my shenanigans. But yeah, we're coming in here trying to get the Tamans to blow up the Panthers, but we notice there's a lot of AA in the center and many biplanes go down. So it was at this point where I'm sort of coordinating with my team to save all the biplanes, and then I was just gonna basically tell people where to bring them all in at the same time, and then we can overwhelm enemy air defense and actually get some value out of our biplanes, like we managed to do so on the left hand side, although it has put us in a bit of a hole. We are currently being double ticked 15-9 by the enemy team. This is not something I'd recommend you try to do on your own, because it probably won't work out very well whatsoever. But Tommy hit is Focke-Wulf getting hit by my 25mm that I brought in to help out the IL-2 KR. Investing into my own recon now so that when my biplanes are ready to go, we can bring them all back in again. And then we still had, I think, some extra biplanes left over to buy after the start of the game, so I was kind of topping off and yeah, just basically getting ready to go again. Biplanes don't take very long to reload or repair or refuel, so you can get them back on the field relatively quickly, and my idea was just try and get as many sorties in with these biplanes before we lose them all eventually. So you're going to be seeing plenty more where that came from throughout this game as I coordinate more strikes with my team. And yeah, if you want to get involved in ridiculous shenanigans such as this, do make sure to come along to my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/VulcanAgeTheGaming, where I do sort of these kinds of events, I guess. It's kind of an event. It was just a random idea that came up, and we decided to do a biplane game where everybody was using biplanes. Not the most efficient strategy in the world, as you may have noticed, and I think some of the enemy team had a bit of a heads up when it came to what we were doing, but for the majority of the enemy team, there was just utter shock and awe as to the sheer amount of biplanes that came in. Now, I would talk about what I'm doing across the map, but as you can see, I really don't have much on the map. I have a Strelki SVT that I placed on the left-hand side here at the start to hold the front line forwards. I have the 25mm I brought in to help my IL-2 in the engagement against the Focke-Wulf. I've got a sniper that's moving up to provide recon information into the center, and I'm also now moving up an Su-85 that I'm going to be able to use in light cover to hit the Panther D, hopefully. But yeah, you can see the amount of AA that has already been invested into by our opponents. They've got the Nimrod there, they've got the triple 37mm AA set up in the middle. There's another AA, actually no, that's not an AA, that is a infantry gun. Further back there. But yeah, we're just trying to work out now really where to bring in the rest of our biplanes. Some of the people on our team are getting a little bit of ahead of the game here, but we eventually decide we're going to hit the right hand side, so I call everybody to bring in their planes. And the way that I was coordinating this was I was telling people to basically type X into the chat when their biplanes were ready to go again, so that I knew how many people had biplanes ready to go. Now, I think the best way to use these biplanes is to spread them out. So you can see that I'm selecting all my biplanes here, and I'm manually spreading them out by pressing Shift to scroll through them. And that way, if they get hit by like an 88 or AA, it's not gonna like AoE and stun units that are next to them. But we're currently now hunting down the AA at the front here first. If we can kill off the AA, then the rest of the biplanes coming in from the rear will be able to do a good job. My Taman does manage to get a successful cluster strike onto the Stug. Bombs coming through there onto the 20mm AA. And here we go, look at this. The formations of biplanes going crazy once again. When I zoom out, you can just see how many there are. So many bombs coming in. Unfortunately, a lot of them somewhat hitting the same targets. But another 25mm is spotted, and that is taken out just as quickly as the rest. Ju-27 actually coming in is going to shoot down one of my poor Tamans. Also the MS-406 trying its best here, but that gets taken out by the IL-2 that is covering all of these poor Tamans. But another relatively successful strike on the right hand side. We managed to kill a bunch of vehicles up on the top here, like the AV USA. There's also the Stug, and I mean, we just got to sit here for a second and admire how absolutely gorgeous this map is. Especially with the flak hitting the biplanes in the skies there, the sun in the distance, all of the smoke piles from all of the successful strikes, fire coming across from the Rosciari against the partisans. And yeah, we are starting to recover some ground at least. 14-10 does stop the double tick that was occurring at the start of the game. And meanwhile, I am trying to start cutting down some of the AA in the middle with this mortar. I did bring in a single 82mm mortar that is going to be firing away onto these AA constantly. I don't think my SU-76 managed to last very long against the Panther and other units in the center, so once again I'm still in a situation where I don't really have many units on the map. I have one like Strauki Komroti that I brought up on the right side here to provide some leadership, but unfortunately that's not ending very well for them as they're being mowed down by an MG42. But my plan at this point is to try and help take back this right hand side. This right hand side, if you can control it on this side of the map, it is very difficult for the opponent to then push because you get this really nice hill with fortified positions on top of it. So you get good back guard and cover that you can use to cover the open, and it just gets very, very difficult for them to even put any pressure onto this flag. So if we can take back this flag, it would go back to 13-11. Yes, they'd still be in the lead, but then we only have to find one flag elsewhere in order to cancel things out and stop them from getting too far ahead. Anyway, do make sure to buckle in as we do have plenty more of these biplane strikes. And following those biplane strikes for Tyurin, there's going to be plenty of T-34s. And for Polish Home Army, there's going to be a lot of infantry, of course. So that's what it's going to turn into later on. The Polish Home Army also do get access to the captured Panthers and Tigers. So those will somewhat help us deal with the heavier tanks that we're going to be coming up against on the enemy team. As you can see, there are a lot of them. They have the 20th Panzergrenadier, for example, 2 of the 12th SS Panzer. They've got 2 16th Panzer, which have the King Tigers, 715th, which has elephants. So lots of large armored threats that hopefully the Polish Home Army players on our team are going to be able to somewhat deal with help of the captured Panthers. So once again, here we go. This time pushing for the center, one by one, just trying to break down the defenses of our opponents. The way that I was choosing this was basically not going anywhere I'd been before. So on the left side, after the start, they probably just backed this up with tons of AA, so I wanted to avoid it. After we destroyed all the AA on the right, what they're going to do, they're just going to replace it. So what I opted to do instead was, this time we're going to go for the middle. And we've already pinned down a lot of the AA here. You can see the Flak 36, 37s are both pinned down. We've got the Nimrod at the back that's firing at us, but there is 2 37s on the right that are also firing at us. So a lot of my poor aircraft are being forced back already. Let me just zoom in and we'll admire the show as all of these biplanes fly overhead, many of them getting forced off by the sheer amount of AA that our opponents have now. And it was at this moment I kind of realized we're in a tough spot when it comes to using all of these biplanes in the middle, because we're able to be hit from both sides of the map. We're creating quite a large front here with the biplanes. Now plenty are breaking through, and you can see that we are able to kill many of these units, including the Wagon or the Nimrod and the Panther, but of course losing many biplanes in the process, debris flying everywhere, some of them getting shot down in the process, and what an absolute bloodbath as both enemy ground forces and our aircraft do get shot down. Now whilst this is going on, I'm pushing forward with these BA-64s. These are little recon vehicles that are providing me with decent information. And the idea was to kind of have these move forwards as the biplanes came in so that we had nice targets, but unfortunately it didn't quite go to plan, as the biplanes arrived a little bit faster than I had anticipated, which is not something you'd usually say against a biplane, or about a biplane, but alas. Yeah, in hindsight, a middle strike was probably never going to be the best choice, because what ended up happening is, yes, we managed to focus down the AA that was in the mid, most of it, but as we're sort of turning away from engaging in the mid, we're also getting hit from both sides as well. Any longer range AA, like those 37 mils, is still able to fire at us, so not the most successful strike, but we still managed to get some pretty significant kills. Biplane there crashed into the water, but otherwise dead griller, and we once again get to admire the gorgeous view. That is one thing that is incredibly awesome about Steel Division 2. Also in Warno as well, but just like World War II battlefields, all the craters, all the wrecks, the smoke piles, there's just something that is just incredible about it. Anyway, Starkey moving forwards here, going to be pushing forwards past the wrecks of the Panzer IVs. We're trying to get rid of these dug-in Jaegers. Now these Jaegers, pretty tough nut to crack because they do have 2 veterancy. They also have a lot of MP40s, so at close range they are able to outmatch my Strauki. You can see they're taking out both the Doso, they're forcing my Strauki to fall back. Strauki SVT got killed off. And yeah, pretty rough, but as you can see, my team is somewhat catching up in terms of units on the ground. A lot of pressure being put on this left side by our team. On the right side, we just managed to capture back the flag there, also managing to take a SDG Z11 flak with me. And I'm also using a Strauki Kamroti here to give my Strauki extra veterancy so we can get the better of the opposing infantry here, which is these Panzergrens. These are the Panzergren 41s. These come as part of the 715. They're slightly bigger Panzergren squads, I believe. More and more units on the way. This time around focusing on armoured vehicles, so Tankos coming in with the M2A1 half-track. And that half-track will be useful for taking advantage of this off-map that's about to come down. One of my teammates, Genjift here, bringing in the 152mm off-map, and that's going to allow us maybe to surrender enemy forces with these half-tracks. So that's why I was choosing to bring those in. You can see that I am ordering them with fast move orders to just come through the town and drive on through. The reinforcements on the way constantly here. This is of course a 10 versus 10 on what is basically a 3v3 map, so the concentration of units is always extremely high. But here we go again for another strike with the biplanes. I just like how the formations look somewhat realistic with the way that people are bringing them in. It's really, really cool. When you go down to ground level and you look up, the air battle is just incredible. The AA hitting us very, very hard this time, as the concentration of AA on this right hand side has increased dramatically since we last hit it. The flag filling SDKs Z71s. These are the flag fillings on trucks, so they are able to do a lot of damage to these biplanes. The biplanes, they're trying to get close, but the flag fillings really just ripping them a new one. Thankfully, Enderbyon's IL-2 coming in there, getting a nice strafing run off to force back that half-track before it can do any more damage. But plenty of damage being done. Just crazy, crazy scenes. The bombers now trying to take advantage of the rest of the lack of AA. Because the only AA really left at this point is this one over on the left-hand side here. The Bofors, as all of these SDK Z71s were actually taken care of, and also the AA that was in this heavy cover. So we're now pushing A13-11. Would you look at that? We managed to get back in the lead after what was a very questionable start. A very fun start, but ultimately bringing in mostly biplanes does somewhat lead you to losing ground due to lack of ground forces, surprisingly enough. Actually, unsurprisingly enough. Wolf 190 still trying to hunt down these poor biplanes. But once again, smoke piles everywhere. And a lot of buildings now destroyed. The infantry trying to advance and take ground as quickly as possible. Not really too much to gain here. We'd have to push all the way up to this flag in order to gain more from this side. So the middle is probably the main place that would need developing at this point. Regardless, I've only still got one unit here, 25mm AA. I've still got all of my tankos and such that are ready to move in on this right hand side, so I'm just moving those up. And I'm also deciding to bring up a bunch of snipers. Now the one thing that really does make these biplanes work well is recon. You need to make sure you have recon if you're going to do any sort of like mass bombing strike like this, so you actually have targets that you can fire at. In an ideal world, you also wouldn't hit the same target as your teammates, but when you're playing with like 9 other people on your team, it's very, very difficult to coordinate that. But I think the team did a good job of at least bringing in all of our biplanes at the same time, and in doing so allowed us to overwhelm enemy AA. And that is probably the actual most important part of using big bombing strikes, is the ability to overwhelm AA and make it very difficult for the opponent to micro and shoot down all of the bombers in time. Now if you want to like shoot down a bomber, generally what you have to do is select your AA and right click the bomber you want to kill, because otherwise what will happen is AA will suppress an enemy aircraft and force it back, but it won't keep firing at it afterwards. It will change the target to another aircraft that is not suppressed. So in order to make sure you actually kill aircraft, you have to select your AA and right-click an enemy aircraft to make sure it goes down. And in this case, you know, if they want to do that, well, there's just so many biplanes, so it leaves them very, very vulnerable to the other, you know, 90 biplanes at the start of the game, for example, that could wipe them out. Whereas instead, they can try and force back as many as possible and trying to lower the amount of inflicted damage. Regardless, it's kind of a very, very difficult choice to make, and yeah, they got to make it multiple times. So here we go once again for another biplane attack, and you can see that the concentration of biplanes is slowly starting to dwindle. There is still an absolute ton of them as we go in for another attack here on the right hand side. It's always really cool to see the fast-moving aircraft amongst the biplanes. It just kind of shows you how slow these things actually go. But we're here. We'll follow in these Tamans as they try and find their targets. So my cluster Tamans going deep, trying to get the kill onto these P-40s. Bombs away. Pretty nice strike there from those Tamans. Plenty of friendlies following up. Good bombing strikes onto the Pak-38 and the MG-42. Stuk here a sitting duck for Endymion's Tamans, although they already get taken out, so it's going for the one further back. And beautiful stuff. This strike was really good. It was very well coordinated. People wasting a lot less strikes on the same targets. Yeah, fantastic stuff by our team this time around. But alas, our concentration of biplanes continues to dwindle as more and more are getting shot down with every sortie. And any who survive will be thrown back into the fight once again. So you can see I'm now down to only 5 biplanes left. Because I was the one always choosing where we were going to take our biplanes, it inevitably meant that my biplanes were the first to get hit all the time and get shot down. So I was starting to lack biplanes at this point. So instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start investing in the T-34s. Now this is the second phase of our fun in this game, this 10v10. It starts with the biplanes, and the reason I'm bringing in the biplanes in phase A and B is because that's when there's going to be the least amount of AA generally in people's decks and on the map. And then in phase B and C, we can kind of transition to the tank gameplay that Tyurin allows, whilst the home army can focus on the heavy armor and infantry combination with those captured tanks plus their abundance in infantry. So yeah, medium tanks getting in position now, ready to go, and we're going to try and bring in a lot of these T-34s, every single tick, as many as I can buy, so we can build up a nice force that can maybe root force down the center of the map. And in doing so, maybe bring us to a 15-9. That would be absolutely glorious. Because currently we're sitting on a 14-10 thanks to Shock's efforts on this flag. We've got Valdis briefly capturing the hill flag on the left. We managed to take back the right, of course, here. So things are actually looking up after what was kind of a very difficult start to the game. I don't know if I would say difficult is the right word. Our fun start to the game, which didn't necessarily capture us a lot of ground. T-34s now rolling forwards. What an absolute cinematic masterpiece this game can be, as we watch these tanks roll forwards and engage with All of the smoke in the background. All of the artillery flying through the skies. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I remember when this game was announced, I was so excited, and I'm so glad that Still Division has turned out to be the absolute gem it was meant to be. And the best thing about Still Division 2 is it could be expanded in so many ways to improve, like go Western Front entirely with new Western Front maps and divisions and campaigns and all that kind of stuff. But alas, we are here with a 10 versus 10 right now, and our poor biplanes really not having a good time as they now all sit burning, floating as wrecks in this lake. Look at that. Oh no. What have we done? What have we done? Lovely off-map strike about to come down as a prelude to what is the first of maybe a few strikes with our tanks. We're trying to pin down any infantry in this town that would threaten the T-34s, and then we can just kind of drive through and try and surrender as much as possible. So you can see here I'm kind of umming and ahhing between doing a fast move order through the town or doing an attack move order. In this case I cancelled the fast move order because I saw the reinforcements coming in. But yeah, we're slowly building up more and more and more every time I bring them in. They're now going to be backing us up as the smoke wall is allowing our T-34s to advance against these longer range tanks. We've got the Command Panther here giving these Panther Gs 2 veterancy, so there's 3-star Panther Gs. These things are going to chew through T-34s at max range, just like that. So I do have to be somewhat careful here. And my poor T-34 is going to get taken out by the Tyurin 2 as it drives down the road there. Because I am using the T-34 76 1943 variant, which only has 75mm of frontal armor, so even sort of lighter medium tanks do sometimes get penetration into the front armor. But regardless, trying to fall back here. A lot of my poor T-34s have now been taken out. We also do lose a Panther, and as the smoke clears, absolute massacre for my forces. So currently sitting on our Air Force still, and you can see that Sato is asking maybe we could do a strike onto the Panther Gs. The difficulty with doing a strike into the middle at this point is you can see these 88s here on the left are going to be firing into the side, but with only a few left, we might as well give it a go. And that's where we're going to be bringing in the rest of our biplanes. We got the IL-2s hanging about to provide recon, and I'm going to be microing that around. I'm specifically looking for the targets that are sitting in this heavy cover so that I can maybe get a unit that can put pressure onto this flag and keep us in the lead. Because the thing is, so far in the game, we were behind for so long that our opponents are still in the lead tickets-wise. Whereas we've only been ahead in flags for like the last, like 10, 15 minutes. But at least we did manage to turn things around, but here we go. The biplanes pushing forwards towards the Panthers. Will any of them actually make it? They've got a long way to go, and they're not even getting close. As you got a verbal wind back here, it's absolutely demolishing those aircraft. Got the 88 a little bit further back, just managing to clip these out of the sky. Poor Tammon's falling like flies this time around. Swatted out of the sky by so much AA. But alas, the infantry and tank push has somewhat succeeded in the centre town, giving us these two flags, pushing us to a 15-9, whilst Valdus also controls this flag on the edge of the hill. So, it's still going okay, considering, and that biplane attack turned out to be basically just a distraction, allowing a lot of these tanks to move forwards and get kills. But it's finally time for McShab to join us with his T-34s, and you can see that just how many he has decided to order. So basically, since the start of the game, when we were bringing in biplanes, McShab decided it would be in his best interest to just save as many points as possible so that he could bring in all of his T-34s at the same time. And this isn't necessarily a bad idea if they are used correctly, because what you can do is spread them out quite nicely and just ram down everything on this in the center area. You can just drive down this middle. But we've already shown off how many 88s are around. And 88s, whilst they are the bane of biplanes, they are also very much the bane of T-34s. So these 88s ready and waiting. McShab ready to go with his tanks. I've set mine up into a nice double line formation. We're going to be charging forwards for another glorious attack in this game. Excuse me, my voice is not too great at the moment, so you might have to bear with me on that front, but at least we can admire the spectacle of this game as McShab's T-34s now charge deep into the town. It's given them a fast move order to just move straight in there. And now my T-34s in this double line formation are going to be moving in as well. Going past the wrecks of the Panther there, the biplanes. Starting to open up as we do have targets onto these STKFZ 251s and the Panzergrens. The Pythagoras is going to be falling back, and rightly so. If he can keep distance, then they are going to be the worst nightmare of these T-34s. But McShab here, he's just going to go for the fast move, so he is blasting down this road very, very quickly. Unfortunately, in doing so, a lot of these shots aren't really going to be hitting the mark. Now, in my case, I'm not in range of enemy forces, so it's not ideal. But when we are in range of like the enemy Panthers and the enemy AT guns here, we shouldn't really be using fast moves anymore. Anyway, the double AT gun, triple AT gun even, Pack 38, double Pack 40, has already killed off a lot of tanks on this road. The Panthers still falling back. One of them did go down. Another one crit. We got Whitman back here. He's having a nice turkey shoot, firing away at the onslaught of T-34s. Just incredible scenes across the board here in this game. It was so much fun to play this out, and whilst it isn't necessarily being very effective right now, it is absolutely amazing. Now, off-map starting to come down on top of our push at the same time. The lot of the units that use the town as cover have managed to get through, but we're now getting hit by this Hotchkiss on the right hand side. There's the LG further back. The back 40s here have still been doing damage the whole time. The Gs are firing into us from the left. And maybe in hindsight, pushing up the middle with this many T-34s was maybe not a good idea, because anything that shows itself on the left side of this town is getting minced by the pure amount of long guns that our opponents have to offer in their numerous heavy armor decks. T-34, 76, engaging the Flak 43, unfortunately taken out by the number of Stoke 3s on their way to engage us. Stoke 3s, incredibly good counter to T-34s, especially 1943 variants, because that 135 millimeters of penetration just slices through the front armor of a T-34. Unfortunately, I believe Endymion ended up dropping. His game probably DC'd or crashed. You can see that because of the two messages popping up at the same time there, but did a good job and definitely helped us out throughout the game. So props to him, but now we're left with even more burning wrecks, as both mine and McShab's push of the T-34s does eventually get put down, and now we're just blotting out the sky with black smoke. Look at it. The absolute destruction here was immense. Absolutely immense. There are just so many adjectives to describe this battle, and I mean it's just incredible. It just really was. It really was. So now, with the big push out the way in the center, we're hoping that maybe we can hold on to this central location if we spread out a bunch of infantry here, and maybe we can continue to hold on to this hill, which has been pushed onto quite effectively by our opponents, whilst I'd been focusing in the center there. Because I'd focused so hard on the center, Gingiff was kind of left to defend this on his own, so now coming in with the T-34s once again to help him out. Yeah, Gingiff also investing into the mortars. There are a lot of areas where the Polish Home Army lack, and artillery is generally one of them, so having to be forced to rely on the 120mm mortars is not ideal. 120mm mortars are okay, they're actually pretty good, especially when you have enough of them. But they're certainly not the best. Certainly not the biggest. So Gingiff making the best out of a bad situation there. But regardless, the T-34-76s done a good job. In the center there, I actually managed to take out a Panther G. This T-34, absolute hero. It managed to stay hidden in the back garden of this building and was side-shotting these units on the left here as they would start to come up. McShab backing up the center with even more T-34s. Tiger, Panther there from Yagsaws trying to hold back the Panther Ds. The difficulty that he's going to have is that these Panthers are all really high veterancy. And when it comes to Tiger versus Tiger or Panther versus Panther, the tank with the higher veterancy almost always wins. So all of these tanks having high veterancy is potentially very bad news for Yagsaws' tanks. But alas, my T-34 is there to sideshot the Panther D, so it's okay. It's okay. I got him covered. But yes, this T-34, an absolute hero. Stug 3 turning to engage, hoping that my T-34-76 can save the day by getting a second shot off in time, but alas, the Stug fires first, and the last hero of that push is wiped out. But there is a lot of Panther wrecks and such over here as well. That's 4 Panther wrecks just there. So we are definitely still doing damage. We certainly didn't have the capacity to hold the line after all of those medium tanks went down. However, I am still making good progress on the right, with T-34s leading the charge for enemy infantry. Do, however, have to be careful of the Panzerfausts and Panzerschrecks. The German forces can potentially get a lot of them, particularly Panzerschrecks, so do have to be a little bit wary of just attacking with tanks. Now the rest of my biplanes coming in on the left, and as you can see, people really don't have that many left. Benjeft apparently had quite a lot. But I was saying that let's do attack on the left hand side. There's a King Tiger currently sat up on this hill enjoying life, so why don't we mess up its day? And you can see the biplanes forming in the distance as we look for our targets. Also going to be bringing up a couple of Strelki. They are going to be in position to hopefully take advantage of this area after the strikes land. Meanwhile, my T-34s on the right were picked apart. I left a couple in the light cover there, so that wasn't so bad. Here we go. Bombing formation as we look for the bombs onto the Panzergrenz. These Panzergrenz running for cover as the bombing strikes get ready to come in. 2 cluster Tamans hoping to get close enough to drop their cluster, but unfortunately too much enemy AA, and these are just too slow. There were a few bombs being dropped here and there onto these infantry, but for the most part the biplane dream is dead. But an absolute fantastic game so far, and it was just incredibly fun to coordinate this many players using biplanes in such a manner. So you can see that pretty much everybody here using 120mm mortars because it's all they had access to. As I said, they're still pretty darn good. They can certainly kill vehicles if enough rounds land directly on target. It's just the trouble with 120mm mortars, their dispersion is very high, and that can be unfortunate sometimes, because you tend to miss a lot, or at least I do, because my RNG is garbage. More T-34s arriving on the right hand side. Since Genjeff's playing home army, I'm just supporting him as much as I can with medium tanks, which is something that he's going to lack. Stug trying to combat my T-34s. At this range, we actually had a decent penetration against the Stug 3 because of the 100mm of penetration against the 90mm of frontal armor there. So I think it was like 45% pennant or something, which between 3 tanks should mean that you managed to get the kill most of the time. But regardless, still doing a good job here of pinning down a lot of these infantry, getting the odd kill here and there onto the Stug. If I can kill off the Mobilwagen as well, that'd be fantastic to open up any future strafing runs and such from aircraft that we have left over. Of course, most of people's air tabs were filled with those biplanes, which are now dead, so there's not too much more to offer in that regard. We just kind of have to focus on the infantry gameplay for the most part. 34's managing to get the first shot off against the Stugs, which is nice thanks to their turrets. And that's allowing us to really start to cut down on the forces here. Mobilwagen goes down. One thing I do need to obviously be careful of is the Stug and how fast it aims, how fast it reloads. I would say it's probably the more important part here. But if I can trade that, I'm going to be happy. Stug goes down for a T-34. It's a nice trade because Stugs are relatively expensive. They're like 90 points, I think. 80 or 90 points. And a T-34 is only like 55. So we're getting value by trading those in. And that's kind of all we need to do. Just get rid of that armor so that Genjeff's infantry can push forwards and claim the flags. But you can see we are under a lot of pressure. We don't really have that much time to spare. 6 minutes left on the clock when our opponent has got 13-11. The partisans here able to kill off these armored targets at close range, but that was a nasty couple of grenades. The Werframen also coming down on top of this left side. That is one problem of playing against the two 12th SS battle groups on the enemy team, is those Werframens are certainly abundant and they are incredibly difficult to deal with. Su-85 got these creeping about in the back gardens here so that we can look for targets. Imagine though you were looking into a field and you had all of these wrecks sitting around, and they wouldn't all be burnt up like this, right? So imagine trying to spot one that's not you know, actually defeated yet amongst all of those wrecks. That must have been crazy. Anyway, large amount of mortar fire coming down onto the elephant is exactly what we need. Great job to our team. But we're still losing time here. There's only 5 minutes 40 until our defeat. At this point, we're like, anybody playing Tyurin is well out of their depth in Phase C once all of the T-34s are gone. Anyone playing Polish Home Army is just out of their depth from the beginning of the game, because it's not exactly a very strong division or battle group on its own. So we are struggling now to get the better of all this superior armor. The multiple Stugs, the multiple Panthers, the elephants, and so on. The best counter being 120 more mortars. And you can see that taking effect there as Saethor uses high veterancy mortars in order to get decent rate of fire and therefore crush some of these armored targets. And he's actually doing a good job there of pushing a lot of these back, allowing us to have a chance of winning ourselves, as the opponents also only have 5 minutes 20 seconds left when we have 13-11 in flags. Since the game has been going on so long, there is certainly starting to become a lack of availability. And that's another thing we have to now consider as we move on. The thing's not really getting any easier, as multiple Stugs are now flying towards us. And Panzer IVs, and Panther Ds, and even Samuras. Oh yeah. But I love it. All the trucks having to navigate past the numerous wrecks of T-34s. Right side really not looking too great as the Panzer II looks come out to play, and with most of my T-34s being killed off, those looks are having an absolute field day over there. Meanwhile on the left, some of the elite enemy infantry with the assistance of Werframens has started to break through on this left hand side. I'd say the only way to really counter these Werframens is if there was a lot of mortars set up here that you could then set to fire at the Werframens as they are aiming. Since we actually have line of sight, definitely a possibility of doing that, but it's getting difficult as more and more pressure is being put on top of us. And now our opponents doing what we did, but instead with Panzer IVs. And on this left side, so my ZIS-2 here now trying its hardest to try and get some kills in before it goes down. Just killing a couple of those would always be very helpful. Meanwhile, multiple vehicles being hit by mortars in the middle of the map. On the right hand side, Slovakia DP trying their best to hold the ground. A couple T-34s getting in position to help out. You can see I'm trying to get them into the light cover on the right hand side here to deal with the Panzer IIs. P3s coming in looking for the rocket strikes. These poor P3s, they're not very good. Their payload is somewhat lacking in Tyurin. It's kind of sad, to be honest. But alas, it did definitely help pin down a lot of those units and allow others to clean them up. There's a bunch of back 75 mils here that were firing across into that push, which cleaned up quite a few of them. So now our mortars hitting pretty hard here on the right hand side. Now starting to sense an opportunity for some surrenders. 120mm mortars, yeah, so basically pinning all of these Panzergrants. And since I'm an armoured target, I'm not going to take as much suppression, so able to just drive through here, get a huge surrender. Even kill the Panzer II. Dodosh blaming himself. Many prisoners of war. Absolutely cleaning out that town on the right hand side. Unfortunately, the Panzergrants have managed to get through on the left hand side, so they're putting on pressure there. And in the mid, things are not looking good as all of these partisans are pinned down on this flag under pressure from L640s. There's so much going on all over the place. We can just have a look from one side to the other. Stay relatively zoomed in, like in the middle. The amount of wrecks is just insane. And then on this left-hand side, even more. All the Panzer IVs taken out, trying to cross the open. Now Stugs following suit. Fortunately, this whole time, the Axis have managed to keep an advantage. These Panzer 35s are sitting on top of one of our flags here, trying to get my T-34 to move up and engage those. These Panzer 35s only have like 30 penetration, so should be able to really get through the front armor of the T-34 very easily. But not really anything else that I have can kill them, and if I move too far forwards, I'm going to make myself vulnerable to the Veshitsa. So I really have to do this from up on the hill or from out of range of enemy anti-armor. So just trying to clean up as many of these as possible so that we can get this flag back. And in doing so, we'd actually be in the lead. But got a couple more to go. There's quite a lot of those Panzer 35s hanging about there. Managed to kill a Reshitsa, so I'm moving up with my Slovakia DP and Sapere. Managed to kill off the Panzer 35, but there's obviously another one. So I'm being forced to move forwards. SS Fallschirmjäger though, moving up. These guys do have a bundle grenade, so in theory, they should be able to kill the T-34, but that was done by the Reshitsa, I believe, in the end regardless. Yeah, so much stuff was just thrown in here, and it was definitely causing us issues with this flag. I'm currently just sitting in attack order on this because I was hoping that Guy could help by pushing up here. try my best to clean this out. Now the recon vehicle doesn't really matter, it's not going to be able to push the front line. So as we take out the Gebirgspioneer there, it does give that back to us. We're now sitting at a 14-10, so still really all to play for, as Shock has managed to grab this flag further back on the left, and after taking out the majority of the tanks here, yeah, things have somewhat swung back in our favor temporarily. So can we win? That is the question. All the partisans trying to use smoke to stay on the point. Mikshab moving forwards with his T4s, unfortunately straight into Jaegers and Sturmjägers, which do have significant anti-tank capability at close range. So a lot of these tanks being chewed up. On the right hand side, I'm only just holding on to this position as the 40mm and the Leshitsa here are starting to engage me. And since this infantry unit has managed to push through, it's going to be able to get on top of the flag. So nice little move there by our opponents. I couldn't change the target of the T-34 in time in order to kill that transport. So I'm going to need Grim's help to clean that infantry out of there. On the right, meanwhile, more waves of units are now coming up the hill. It's a 12-12. Can they make the push in time? You can just see like the scale of this battle, the concentration of forces on the field at the end of this game. All of these 120mm mortars almost permanently firing on the backside right now. Almost Strauki DP coming in, trying to get on that flag. As things are getting desperate for both sides to finish this game. 2 minutes and 10 seconds left until we lose. Rosciore PM are going to be the ones in my way, but as you can see, shots coming in from everywhere. 2 Rashidza on the right, 1 Rashidza on the left. The T-34's not able to make the push down the ridge there in time. No more off-map available on the right-hand side. At this point, this would be an incredible off-map target. And instead, just blobs of infantry really, really suffering under incredible firepower from both sides. I got my T-34s, and we got friendly mortars coming down on all of their infantry. Chenchev still trying to use his Tamans to get the strikes in. I was just about to try and go for another big surrender, then that bombing strike came through from the HE-111, so that preventing a mass surrender on the bottom side, and well, briefly went to a 15-9 for our enemy, now back to a 14-10. We completely lost the mid now, as the partisans have been forced off. We've ran out of T-34s and T-4s. And just, yeah, the center was just a graveyard for tanks. Elsewhere, there's definitely wrecks of biplanes everywhere as well. Especially like in the water, there's still like the floating wrecks of the biplanes everywhere. Just this is the best one, it really is. The lake of burning and floating wrecks of biplanes. There you have it, guys. After what was a 62 minutes and 25 second epic game, it's over. Biplanes are doomed and they are all dead. All of our T-34s destroyed. An incredible, incredible game. Really, really fun to play. Not the best KDs across the board. Good job by Yagd and Baba Yan. So Shock, of course, doing well. Myself, personally, 3,130 30 kills to 4,745 losses. The Tyurin boys not doing great. The T-34s not quite hitting the mark there, unfortunately. But alas, it was a glorious, glorious fight. You can see that one of my T-34s here actually got a decent couple of kills. I'm trying to find which one it was. And this too also did a decent job for us there. There was one of these that killed 2 Panthers. There you go. Panther G, Panther D. Kalski. He will be remembered. Losses wise, well, plenty of Tamans going down to a combination of AA and enemy aircraft. And then following that, all of the tank engagements and infantry engagements. This one Panther G actually wiping out 5 of my T-34s, and I imagine it killed a lot more than that. But some of those Panthers had some crazy kill lists. But alas, yeah, very, 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 very fun game. And hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. Wow. What a game. What a game. If you managed to get this far, make sure to write T-34 in the comments. Or maybe Taman. Let's go with Taman. Write Taman in the comments. Because they were just awesome. The biplanes. Absolutely so fun to use in this game. And thanks to everybody who played in this one. I really did appreciate the cooperation from my teammates as well. So yeah, great stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.